Benz, who is co-director of Faith Action Network. He is an ordained minister of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. He served as director of the Lutheran Public Policy Office of Washington, previous to his role at Faith Action Network. Paul has been a longtime social justice leader in Washington State's religious community.
Thank you for coming out and for your deep commitment. This is indeed a grave time for our country, is it not? And for our world to hear what we really knew. I want to thank Plymouth for once again hosting and being a faith community that so deeply recognizes the need for the faith community's voice to speak, particularly in terms of these times. Thank you to my good friend and so many in this room, Michael, for your powerful comments. I want to thank Rob for your tireless efforts, and so many in this room with the Washington State Religious Campaign Against Torture, and for the hundreds and thousands in this country that have been working on this issue for so long. I also want to thank, believe it or not, United States senators. They can do the right thing, can't they, Peter? If you don't know, the son of a United States senator is in our room, who had a lot to do with U.S. foreign policy. And but I want to thank Senator Feinstein and others, like on the other side of the aisle, that is so hard for Congress and all of us to work with. But the other side of the aisle was Senator McCain, who personally knows about torture, for speaking up, for using his voice on the floor of the United States Senate, for shining light in our season of darkness, shining light on the darkness of our government. So I believe we should call upon the President to call for an investigation into these abuses of power. Congress oftentimes likes to call for investigations. Let's have them investigate their own. And I agree with you, Rob, that the Central Intelligence Agency is almost like an independent, not even a branch of government, but an independent, just operates on its own. These abuses of power that are questionable, at the least in terms of their effect of reducing terrorism. I think we all probably believe that when these types of abuses, which I don't think are any surprise to the terrorists, to ISIS, to any other country that is, quote, known for torture, I don't think it comes as any surprise to them that the United States government is doing this. I think we also all realize, I'm not speaking for everybody here, but at least for myself, that U.S. foreign policy is not necessarily to be based on religious precepts like love of neighbor and the golden rule, because we know the realities of the world that we live in. But the practices of this government, of our government, and the policies of our government, particularly in the Central Intelligence Agency and other agencies of our government that are involved in surveillance and torture, need to realize that they are still accountable and a part of this country, paid for by U.S. tax dollars, to this Constitution's rule of law. As unjust as we all feel about the, quote, rule of law, in our country, we still have a constitution. We still have precepts in this country about dignity for human life. We have international treaties that Senator Jackson was a part of. I don't know why I'm calling it, because I have such a great admiration for your dad. Sorry, Peter. That we have agreed to, that we are a part of. So we need to continue to shed light on this. Today's news, yesterday's news, will go by the wayside. This will as well. But is it not incumbent upon us? Thank you, Michael, for those words as we enter into the variety of the beautiful faith traditions that we have in this country. Looking at our friend Arsalan in the back. Whether it be the Jesus of Nazareth, the great rabbi, or the celebration of Kwanzaa, or whatever it might be. But we need to continue to be vigilant with each of our voices, our organizations, so many that are represented here, to continue to shed light on the abuses that this country, our country, is a part of. So I know that all of us here will continue to do that, but I believe it's hard to say that this is an opportunity, but sometimes we all know that injustice, horrible injustice like this, does provide an opportunity. And once again, I thank the United States Senators. We had to call both of our United States Senators for their support for this report. And we ought to get together and use the best of our minds to figure out what the next steps are. Thank you.